Hello everyone, with the Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Saturday night, May 31, 2025. I must apologize for the late video. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you all like this video. I'd really appreciate it if you all get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season. That's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section, but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below letting me know what the weather's been like in your ear recently. Also, feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so considering that today is the last day of May, we need to highlight the post that was made in the video that was posted on the last day of April about what the weather would have been like for the month of May. Let's see if it actually verified. So looking back at this video, we can see that for May 2025, the CFS was showing some amount of rainfall more so to the south of the island rather than on land. What was the other model showing? We're looking here at the CANSIPS. CANSIPS was showing more of that rainfall across the southwestern Caribbean into Central America for May. Some rainfall across sections of Jamaica. And finally, let's find the NMME model. NMME model was showing some rainfall across the Western Caribbean, including Jamaica, Central America right there. But I guess we can say for sure that the rainfall that we usually get for the month of May didn't actually come to fruition at all. We didn't get that crazy above normal rainfall, no major rain event in May, so that only leaves June. Let's see if we actually get a June to bring us some amount of ridiculous rainfall. We definitely had the rainfall though, across especially western parishes, maybe some northern parishes. I believe there is one point in May that we were getting some afternoon rainfall across sections of some southern parishes, and then there was another point where everything just flipped and it went all to northern parishes. Either way, definitely more so on the average side, nothing significant. Definitely had rainfall, definitely had sunshine and heat for sure to balance things out. But what is being forecasted for the month of June by the CFS, that's the climate forecast system? We can clearly see Jamaica shaded in the greens, even some dark greens represents anywhere from an inch all the way to maybe even 4 inches of rainfall. We see that especially across the Western Caribbean, Central America into the Gulf. Very interesting. But do we actually have agreement on the CANSIPS model? The CANSIPS is showing that rainfall especially across the Western Caribbean and Central America, but not necessarily Jamaica. Jamaica right here, smack dab in the middle of it all, more so in the whites. Just some slight greens across the far western end, and even some slight yellows across the far eastern end. We know the greens represents above normal rainfall, the yellows represents below normal rainfall. So we definitely have some contrast. We don't see the agreement on both the Euro and the GFS. Well, we see the agreement in the sense that yes, there's more rainfall out west than out east. Definitely darker greens out west for sure. Let us see what the NMME model is showing. Alright, here we go. Another model that's not really 100% sure what's going to happen. We don't have the agreement at all on these three models. The NMME model for June is showing more so yellows across most parishes that represent below normal rainfall. So we have to take these forecasts as a grain of salt. These models are just showing us a kind of crystal ball to what could happen, not necessarily what's going to happen. So don't hang your hat on these forecasts. This is why we have to look at the trends. However, in terms of what the CARICOF, that's the Caribbean Climate Outlook Forum, is showing for the time period, not only for June, but even for July and August, all 3 months average, we see Portions of the Greater Antilles embedded in some bluish shades that represents above normal rainfall, as we can see from the key on the bottom. Jamaica looks to be more so in the whites that represents normal rainfall, so too sections of the Leeward Islands. Very interesting. While we're seeing below normal rainfall expected for the Bahamas, the Cayman Islands, the southeastern Caribbean, the ABC Islands, northern Venezuela, Trinidad and Tobago, into a portion of the Windward Islands. It's going to be very interesting to see how all of this plays out, especially considering that the major organizations out there are predicting an above average hurricane season. So, and this is showing for June, July, and August. So, will it actually verify? Will we be getting some tropical waves to bring us rainfall, or is it just going to be more so drier conditions, especially down here where we usually see the tropical waves passing through? Very interesting that we're seeing less rainfall being forecasted for them. But for Jamaica, let's see if we actually get the average rainfall. Is that actually average rainfall, or is that a slight shade of blue? Either way, we'll see it actually plays out. Alright, so we need to take a look at the Atlantic and tropical storm activity based on data from 1944 to 2020. We can see hurricanes and tropical storms shaded in the reds and hurricanes alone in the yellows. So we're right here at the beginning of June, and we usually see an uptick in activity maybe the first 7 days, if not around mid to the latter part of June. Very interesting. We'll see exactly what occurs if we'll actually get something formulating. I'd like for you all to keep in mind that this is based on data from 1944 to 2020. So yeah, a lot of data has been gathered as to, you know, the time frame within the year that we usually get more activity. As we can see, especially in August, September, and October, as we always say at the beginning of these videos. Alright, so we're also looking at the tropical and subtropical cyclone points of origin and tracks. This is based on data from 1851 to 2023, and we're looking for the time period from June 1 to June 10, considering that tomorrow is the first day of June. And we can see that it's not only portions of the Western Hemisphere, the Western Caribbean into the Gulf, and the Southwestern Atlantic that sees a fair share of tropical systems formulating in the yellow dots, but even portion of the Eastern Pacific definitely right here, and we see most of these move towards west northwest to the south of Mexico. Some do actually come inland, but not that much compared to what goes out to sea. And look how many of them are in the Western Caribbean into the Gulf. We see one right here formulating to the southwest of Jamaica that pushed northward and past us just by our west and went into portion of southeastern Cuba. We saw that there is one that formed right here on top of us to the north of the island and then pushed towards the west. We see that a lot of them usually form across the Western Caribbean into the Gulf, into the Bahamas. Very interesting. Well, we actually see something like this this year for this June's first 10 days. Only time will tell. Regarding the sea surface temperature map, so we're looking at the update that came out yesterday, May 30, and as stated, we're still seeing the above normal sea surface temperatures in the yellows and the oranges. We know that this is what the hurricanes thrive on. This is what they use to build themselves. This is what the tropical waves use to become tropical depressions, if not tropical storms, if not hurricane. We see that there's no shortage of that across the Atlantic in general. So they definitely have a lot to work with. We also see the lack of El Nino across the eastern to the central Pacific, where we are seeing that we don't have an El Nino in the reds, yellows, oranges. We see more a neutral-like pattern, and if you remember, we had more of a neutral-like pattern when we had Hurricane Beryl pass through the Caribbean. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this year actually plays out. Neutral-like pattern, warmer than average sea surface temperatures, the lack of El Nino to cause more thunderstorms across the eastern Pacific and thus causing more wind shear in the Caribbean. So with the lack of the El Nino, we know that the Atlantic is good to go regarding a lot of tropical cyclone activity. Not a good thing at all, but definitely down for this side of the world, but more so up for this side of the world in terms of these tropical cyclones and what they'd like to do. And it's not only about how warm the waters are at the surface of the ocean, at the skin of the ocean, but even at the great depth. This map right here is showing the ocean heat content, and all of these colors that we see on the key on the bottom, the greens, the yellows, the oranges, all of this represents a very deep warm water. And especially if we get a storm system to sit on top of all of this, it could definitely spell trouble, especially if it's a slow moving system or a stalling system. It's just going to be sucking up even more warm water that's being churned up with that low level circulation. And the thing is, the more we head into the peak of hurricane season, the more the water warms. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly what it looks like by the peak of hurricane season on September 10. All right. We're going to be looking at some posts made here by Andy Hazelton. He is actually an associate scientist at the University of Miami, and from time to time he makes some very accurate posts about the Atlantic hurricane season. Alright, so he stated, this graphic from Dan Halperin's Genesis page illustrates why the GFS should not be trusted with what it's doing in the Caribbean next week. In other regions, it has a mix of hits and false alarms, but in the southwest Caribbean, almost all of forecasted tropical cyclones end up being false alarms. Just a known model bias in that region, and it's pretty easy to correct for if you look at other models too. And we see it right here, highlighting all of these blues into the purples that represents the false alarms for sure. That didn't come to fruition. Anything that we see X'd out didn't actually really happen. And that's the thing, many persons are talking about something possibly spinning up from a possible Central American gyre as we head into June in the western or the southwestern Caribbean. And he's basically just showing us that we shouldn't really just hang our hat on the GFS at all. As a matter of fact, he made a post stating that in contrast to this, pretty much anytime the ECMWF showed something developing in the Caribbean last year, it verified. It has the opposite problem of the GFS, where it catches on late. CMC was a mixed bag of hits and false alarms. So if one of these models shows something similar to the GFS, then we maybe could pay more attention. But for now, both only show East Pacific development. And he highlighted these maps right here, also showing the ECMWF, where we don't see much in the way of false alarms at all. All of these show the exact probability of something forming and something actually formulating for sure, if you actually understand what's taking place on these maps. He also showed the CMC right here, and he also showed what the GFS is. This GFS, whatever this model is showing for June 6th, something definitely formulating to the south of Mexico at that time. But we see an increase in moisture that should be taking place across the southwestern Caribbean if nothing even forms. Alright, so we need to see what's happening across the Atlantic in terms of the 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook. And we can definitely see that we don't have anything to talk about. This is as of their latest post that came out at 7:26 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is actually 6:26 p.m. Jamaica time. Tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 7 days, or even maybe this next 14 days. We'll see. Either way, we know the first name on the list is Andrea. It's going to be very interesting to see exactly when and where that storm will actually form. But we need to switch gears and focus our attention on the Eastern Pacific. Yesterday we had quite a very notable storm, Tropical Storm Alvin, near the Baja Peninsula right here. It's definitely still there, but we can barely make it out. We just see some swirls of grayish clouds right here across the waters near land for sure. They're definitely getting in on some weather from that, maybe churning up the seas, if not some overcast skies and some rainfall, but nothing significant at all. We even see more deep convection across Mexico. According to the Hurricane Center, Alvin dissipated. We don't see it anymore right here, but we still have a chance of something formulating right here. Yesterday it was a code yellow. Now it's up to a code orange, which means that it has a 40% chance of cyclone formation within the next 7 days. According to the Hurricane Center, an area of low pressure is forecast to form offshore off the coast of Central America and southern Mexico by the middle part of next week. Environmental conditions appear conducive for gradual development of the system thereafter, and a tropical depression could form late next week, while it moves generally westward to west-northwestward at around 10 miles per hour. With that, they've given it a 10% chance of cyclone formation. Well, a 0% chance of cyclone formation within the next 48 hours. That's the next 7 days. That's the next 2 days, sorry. And a 40% chance of cyclone formation within the next 7 days. And we know the next name on the list is going to be Barbara. So, more than likely, that's the system that should be passing to the south of Mexico once again. Alright, let us take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can see a blue spike line right here extending off the east coast of the US down to a portion of Florida and the Gulf associated with a cold front. We see another frontal system extending from the northern portion of North Atlantic, which has an area of low pressure attached to it, extending all the way down to the north of the main development region. We see another tropical wave that just exited the coast of Africa, another tropical wave right here to the southwest of Jamaica, which could have been in charge of some of the rainfall that we had across section of the island today. We also see that there's a ridge of high pressure somewhere up here that we know is responsible for sending all of the easterly trade winds, all of the tropical waves, all of the Saharan dust, everything from east to west is being steered toward us, all courtesy of that ridge of high pressure for sure. Regarding the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before we lost the sunlight, we can see the clouds associated with the frontal system extending down to Florida. We see the clouds associated with the other frontal system extending down to the northern portions of the North Atlantic. The clouds associated with that tropical wave off the coast of Africa. The clouds associated with that other tropical wave that affected us today across the western Caribbean, including portions of Jamaica. And we can make out that upper level flow of the cirrus clouds being streaked off from southwest to northeast, definitely showing all of the convection that's currently taking place across sections of northern South America. Very interesting. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus on the weather that was predicted for Saturday, May 31, 2025. If you remember yesterday's video, we highlighted the fact that given the southeasterly or east-southeasterly kind of flow across the island, we would have had some morning rainfall across sections of some southern and eastern parishes, also affecting sections of some central and western parishes during the afternoon. And first of all, we know that southern parishes, we're talking about Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine, Kingston, St. Andrew, and St. Thomas. Eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey, like Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew. While central parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex, like St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine. While western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. And what ended up happening? As early as 8:26 a.m., the visible satellite images were posted right here on our Twitter page with the Jamaica, as well as on our Instagram page with the Jamaica, on our TikTok page with the Jamaica, and on our Facebook page with the Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there as we make posts throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. So we can definitely see the clouds coming into sections of eastern Jamaica, bring some overcast skies, if not some isolated showers, to section of Portland and St. Thomas at that time. Even at around 11:45 a.m. the late morning, we still had clouds bringing some overcast skies, if not some isolated showers, even some isolated thunder showers across sections of Portland and St. Thomas. I definitely got my fair share of on and off rainfall in my section of St. Thomas today. Even saw a little isolated thunder showers starting to develop across sections of northern Clarendon at that time too. Then at around 1:45 p.m., the visible satellite image was posted once again, and it highlighted some clouds, bringing some overcast skies, if not some isolated showers and isolated thunder showers across section of St. Thomas, Portland, section of St. Anne, section of Trelawney, St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland, section of St. Elizabeth definitely got in on the action as well. And we saw that even while we're losing the sunlight, we still had a lot of clouds here and there, especially across the waters to our north, across sections of the island for sure. The infrared close-up satellite images Well, at the beginning of the images, let me see if I can pause it. It's a bit too late, so not seeing anything from earlier. What we saw, where we had that thunderstorm activity across section of Kingston, St. Andrews, section of St. Mary, St. Anne, the north coast and the western portion of the island definitely got nailed in the afternoon into the late afternoon hours. I would definitely have the confirmation right here from C Jamaica's YouTube channel. This is halfway through at around 5:25 p.m. and we see that it was definitely raining, some moderate to slightly heavy rainfall at that time. We can clearly see people in their vehicles going about their business, windshield wipers definitely on, people walking about, going about their business for sure. Umbrellas are definitely out, as you can see. Some people looking like they're getting wet, didn't get the memo about the rainfall at all. And I would like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to see more live streams like this, just visit See Jamaica on YouTube. They have these live streams for your viewing pleasure, and they're planning on increasing the amount of cameras that they have in and around the island. So subscribe today so that you don't miss out. Taking a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, this map does indeed paint quite the picture for we might have had a rainfall today. Across section of some eastern parishes, across section of some central and western parishes, but it was more so especially across the north coast during the afternoon, given that southeasterly slash east southeasterly kind of flow. And we definitely have some comments here confirming what the rainfall was like in some of our subscribers and followers areas. We have Randale Green posting right here, saying good evening weather Jamaica. We don't have any rain in Brownstone, St. Anne. It is now cloudy skies in Brownstone. We have Aston Gooden 9920 stating it's windy here in Linstead and more winds are coming. Thank you all for the post. We also had one post here on our TikTok page from Miss McDonald, her stating that having rain in Westmoreland. Thanks for confirming. Even on our Instagram page, we had simply unique _2 stating all my clothes wet up. We also have _.cu_lxprit. Stating heavy rain in Mobe. Thanks for confirming. Marlon _1 got stating cloudy right now with the Jamaica. Thanks for confirming. We also have simply unique stating raining in Kingston. Thanks for confirming where your clothes are being wet. And we have one Ryan _ almost every minute Ryan posting, letting us know that it's raining in Hanover. I think the role has switched to it. Used to be a case where Portland would be getting most of the rainfall, considered the wettest parish. I think with climate change, Hanover is the wettest parish, in my humble opinion. I think Hanover is the wettest parish, and then maybe either St. James, if not Westmoreland, in second place. I don't know, but we see Ryan confirming rainfall once again, and Ryan had rainfall yesterday. Well, that's how it goes. Climate change. Alright, let us reload the very latest still image from the Weather Nerds website. Let's see what's happening right now. The very latest still image is showing 0405 UTC, which is actually 11:05 p.m. So it just came out 10 minutes ago, considering that it's 11:15 p.m. right now, and we don't see much of anything across the island. Just some milky whitish shades represent some high cirrus clouds. We also see some clouds right here to the northwest of us. Don't expect any rainfall within any of that. But let us reload the very latest Cuban Doppler radar imagery, the very latest Guantanamo Bay radar imagery, as well as the latest Cayman radar. Let's see what's happening right now. Unfortunately, it looks like the latest Cuban Doppler radar image is as of 3:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 2:10 p.m. Jamaica time. And at that time, we saw that we're getting in on that moist flow, that rainfall coming in from the southeast into portion of St. Thomas, section of Portland, got in some of the action. We also saw that rainfall across section of northwestern St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, Trelawney at that time. Trust me, it was all rainfall. Don't think that it was ground clutter, especially considering that we're seeing some of it out to sea. Definitely had that rainfall today over there. The Guantanamo Bay Cuban Naval Radar imagery not showing much of anything across northeastern Jamaica or the western peninsula of Haiti, but we do see where we had some isolated shores across portion of southeastern Cuba. The Cayman radar, on the other hand, as of right now, showing a lot of moisture right here to the northwest of Jamaica, to the west of Jamaica, to the south of the Cayman Islands right there. A lot of light to moderate to heavy rainfall. And this rain band right here to the northwest of us is definitely in line with what we just saw on the latest infrared. All of these clouds that we're seeing to the northwest definitely showing what we're seeing within these clouds right here on the Doppler radar. Some light to moderate, even heavy rainfall in the yellows and the oranges. So it makes sense that we're seeing clouds to our northwest at this time. Regarding what's happening right now, according to the live camera here from Jamaica's YouTube channel, showing the Bagua Gorge in St. Catherine, we can see that it's definitely dry. As we can see here, people in their vehicles going about their business. Nothing significant in terms of bad weather taking place at this time. And even while we load these images from earlier today, you can definitely see that it was definitely dry conditions taking place. Nothing significant in terms of bad weather at all. A bit windy, nothing significant. Real Cobra definitely chilling for the most part. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see about 26 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 27 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Sunday, temperature should dip down to about 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay as well as in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is valid for 18Z on Sunday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Sunday, and we can see Jamaica right here embedded in some yellows that represents up to at least 1 degree Celsius above normal temperature. And we know that the normal temperature for the month of June, alright, I guess we're gonna have to do some calculation, but I'm pretty sure that it's nothing drastic in terms of the change. I think this is what, close to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's see, 90 F to Celsius, that's about 32.2 degrees Celsius. So yeah, that's a temperature forecast. Well, that's what's expected. We're heading into meteorological summer. The actual summer doesn't begin until I believe June 21, if not 22 this year. But we're starting to get into high temperature territory. It used to be 31.6 in May. Now we're heading into June where it's gonna be up to what, 32.2 degrees Celsius. And given that the island is gonna be shaded in some yellows and some slight oranges, we should be receiving even higher temperatures than that. Maybe 32, maybe up to what, 33, if not close to 34 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Sunday. And unfortunately, we have some maintenance outage advisories here from my JPS online Twitter page that we have to highlight. And we know that we have to highlight these because we know that when we have power outages somewhere across the island, it can definitely make the heat feel even worse because we don't have our fan or our AC to cool us down. So if you live or work in these areas, or if you have friends or relatives who live or work in these areas, please let them know that a power outage is coming their way on Sunday, June 1, 2025. We're referring to Arden Road, Hamilton Drive, Trafalgar Park, Antigua Avenue, Holborn Road, Rainfall, Dumfries, Chelsea Avenue, Grenada Crescent, Antigua Avenue, Dominica Drive, and roads leading off, all in the parish of St. Andrew, from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. We're also expecting an outage across Paisley Avenue in St. Catherine from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we have some tips right here to beat the heat as usual. It states here, seek shade when outside. Eat fresh or eating cold foods such as salads and fruits. Rest, make sure you get enough sleep and rest if you're feeling tired. Soak, take a cool shower or bath to help you cool down. And I cannot stress enough the importance of staying hydrated throughout the day. Even if you're not thirsty, drink lots of water. And put away those sugar drinks and drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air map, we know that the dry air is represented by what we see here on the key on the bottom. That's the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites within those reds. We can see the abundance of dry air across the portion of the eastern Atlantic right here. We know the dry air is responsible for keeping the atmosphere stable, making it harder for it to rain this time of year. But what we like that we're seeing is the blues across the intertropical convergence zone into the Caribbean, into the Gulf. The blues are also extending into the eastern Pacific. The blues, as we know, represent that moist air, and that's what we want to see. We want the moist air, that we get more rainfall to keep water in our pipes for sure. More rainfall is always a good thing as long as we don't get too much to cause some significant flooding. But regarding the Saharan dust forecast, so we're heading into June 1, and we can clearly see that even as we head into the first day of June, the eastern Caribbean should already be picking up on that vigorous plume into the oranges, reds, pinks, if I'm not mistaken, purples. And it's going to be by around, let's see, we're looking at time frame right here, June 2 that it starts to come into Jamaica. Then June 3, that significant plume coming in, crazy. June 3, That's around Tuesday for sure. So June 1 Sunday, June 2 Monday, June 3 on Tuesday. That's a vigorous plume right there. So ensure that you have your masks handy. Ensure that you have your meds handy just in case, you know, asthma, sinusitis, respiratory illnesses are triggered. But the good thing is that once this is out of here, it looks to be that we're going to be getting in on a break, as we can see here behind all of this coming through the Eastern Caribbean. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can clearly see that the highest waves are still right here to the south of Hispaniola and Jamaica. The dark blues into the purples are representing from 2 up to 2.5 meter wave heights, while the light shades of blues extending from the Gulf into the Bahamas into portions of the Caribbean that represents them from 0.5 meter wave height all the way up to 1.5 meter wave heights, all because of the winds that are expected. Look at the winds, more of an easterly flow across the Caribbean. Definitely strongest to the south of Jamaica, to the south of Hispaniola, some strong winds anywhere from 20 to 25 knots, maybe even more. Definitely some weak winds right here into the Gulf, maybe up to 5 knots at least, as we can see here by the key. Some bright greens. So we see that flow of the wind right here across the Leeward Islands, southeasterly, then northerly, well, southerly to the north of Puerto Rico. Very interesting. But regarding Jamaica's wave forecast for tomorrow, up to at least 1.5 meter wave height to the north of Portland, up to at least 1.4 meter wave height to the north of St. Anne, 0.8 of a meter wave height to the north of Hanover, to the south of Westmoreland 1.2 meter wave height, to the south of Clarendon 1.3 meter wave height, and to the south of St. Thomas 1.6 meter wave height. And that's because of the winds that are expected. Clearly we see more of an easterly flow. It looks to be more so east-southeasterly on the eastern side to the northern side. Well, we see the flow of the wind easterly, if not east-southeasterly, and we could get in on a repeat of what took place today when we had some of these rain bands coming in, especially into section of eastern Jamaica, then all of the air piling up wherever we have the least amount of winds. That's where the air is going to be piling up for that daytime heating rainfall, especially across section of some northern and western parishes. So yesterday I was taking the safe route and saying central and western parishes, but I should have believed the GFS. It's more so northern and western parishes for sure, and that's exactly what's going to be taking place tomorrow. And with the upper level wind still coming in from the northwest, we could definitely get a repeat of what happened today when those cloud tops are being sheared off towards the southeast for sure. So more overcast skies for southern Jamaica as usual. Regarding the actual rainfall forecast maps now, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both valid for 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 8 a.m. Jamaica time. And what do both maps show? Both maps are showing that there's going to be rainfall across the far eastern end. We're talking about St. Thomas, Portland for sure. The GFS showing some rain bands to the south of central Jamaica. The Euro showing some of that rainfall coming into south central Jamaica. Interesting. But we're working with the consensus, and the consensus or the agreement is that there's going to be rainfall at around 8 a.m. if not earlier, if not sooner, even onwards throughout the morning for sections of eastern Jamaica. I live in the east. I'll definitely confirm it if it's raining at that time. Then at around 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 2 p.m. Jamaica time, look at what the Euro is showing. The Euro is showing blues represent rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. Even the waters to our west with that significant rainfall, greens, yellows, oranges. That's ridiculous rainfall if that actually comes to fruition. But I'm more inclined to believe what the GFS is showing. More so eastern parishes, more so northern parishes, more so western parishes. Although we see some of maybe southern St. Elizabeth and southern Manchester trying to be incorporated, I'm more inclined to believe the latter. So the forecast is for morning rainfall across sections of eastern parishes, with afternoon rainfall across sections of eastern, northern, and western parishes, especially given that east-southeasterly, that strong east-southeasterly flow, for sure averaging anywhere from 20 to 25 knots for sure. We see the winds, definitely some strong winds for sure passing through. And even the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps here from the Euro and the GFS are adamant that it's going to be raining somewhere in Jamaica within the next 24 hours. The Euro definitely showing all the greens into the yellows and oranges. That represents at least up to 0.45 of an inch of rainfall for the most part, up to 0.58 of an inch of rainfall for the most part on the GFS. It's going to be very interesting to see exactly what occurs. And whatever happens, we'll definitely take it. We're in the month of June. We're still in the secondary rainy season, May into June. Definitely 2 months that bring us rainfall for sure. In Kingston, this bar graph is being shown right here at the top. We usually receive around, let's say, 110, 115 millimeters of rainfall for the month of June. In Montego Bay, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the bottom, we usually receive up to 6.5 inches of rainfall for the month of June. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives in terms of rainfall for the month of June or for the entire year, you can visit weatherandclimate.com and that website to show that information. And you can use this nice graphic right here that converts rainfall from inches to millimeters. We know that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall, so you can do the math yourself. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the next 7 days have in store for us according to the latest Euro and GFS supercomputer model runs that came out today. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here at the top, and keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as we go to the next 168 hours. That's the next 7 days. Also keep your eyes focused on the key on the right. Look for the colors and look if we'll actually see some across portion of Jamaica, if not the Caribbean. The reds, the oranges, the yellows, the greens that represents inches of rainfall like that. So let's see what's going to be taking place. So we just looked at Sunday. Now we're looking at Monday, and look at what 12Z on Monday is showing. At 7 a.m. we see some rainfall across southern and eastern Jamaica. Will we still be getting on that moist southeasterly flow? Then on Monday afternoon, look at that, eastern, central, and western parishes with that rainfall. What does the GFS show for Monday morning? Maybe some isolated showers out east. Then on Monday afternoon, it looks like eastern, northern, and western parishes. Making sense again. Looks like it's going to be a repeat of Sunday on Monday. Then as we head into Tuesday morning, still seeing some moisture right here across southern and eastern Jamaica on the Euro. We're also seeing abundance of moisture across the Bahamas into Florida, Cuba, and the western Caribbean. Then on Tuesday afternoon, maybe some isolated showers still affecting portion of the far eastern end of the island. What does the GFS show? Tuesday morning, rainfall across the south and the east. Tuesday afternoon, rainfall across the east, the north, and the west. Let's see what Wednesday morning is showing. On Wednesday morning, maybe some isolated showers out east. Wednesday afternoon, eastern, central, and western parishes with that rainfall. Wednesday morning on the GFS, the far eastern end with that isolated shower. Wednesday afternoon looks to be more so western parishes with that rainfall. And we're also seeing the moisture associated with what's to come next week across the waters to the south of Central America. Very interesting, trying to get its act together with that moisture. Maybe future Barbara trying to take shape. What do we see on Thursday morning? On Thursday morning, not really seeing much of anything across Jamaica on the Euro. The GFS not really showing much of anything either for Thursday afternoon on the Euro. What does the GFS show? GFS more so northeastern parishes with that rainfall, then northwestern parishes during the afternoon. Let's see what Friday morning is showing. Friday morning, not really much of anything. Friday afternoon, maybe some western parishes. Then we're stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. Let's see if I can find it. Doesn't seem like it's showing it. Yeah, I'm trying to go up to the 168 hours. Alright, so here we go. Up to the 168 hours. We're stopping it right here, just like what the Hurricane Center would do the next 7 days. We see that rainfall across the far eastern end, waters to our south, and the waters of the western Caribbean for sure. We're also seeing an abundance of moisture right here to the south of Mexico. What does the GFS show for Friday into Saturday? Friday morning, not really much of anything. We see an abundance of moisture here in and around Central America though. And then on Friday afternoon, we see that rainfall more so still affecting the waters of the southwestern Caribbean. And we're stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours, and the GFS is still adamant about that significant moisture across the waters of the western Caribbean. But you have to remember what Andy Hazelton said in his post. This is what the GFS does for sure. Don't be tricked into thinking that this is what's going to be happening, especially considering that we're not seeing consensus with all of these L's that represents areas of low pressure, yellows, oranges, reds across the western Caribbean, like what the GFS is showing. Let's work with what the Euro is showing. He stated that the Euro is usually more accurate, and if the Euro doesn't come on board with what the GFS is showing, chances are it won't be happening. So take these forecasts with a grain of salt. Either way, the main takeaway, something definitely going to be formulating on the eastern Pacific side of things. We see more broad turning, we see more moisture over there for sure. And regarding the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps for the next 7 days, both maps right here are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until Saturday, June 7, if I'm not mistaken. And we can see the dark reds into the purples into the pinks. That represents anywhere from 2 all the way up to 5 inches of rainfall, like what we're seeing here on the key on the right. So that could definitely be affecting a portion of Central America, Northern South America, section of Cuba, the Florida, the Bahamas areas. And we see that it's not only the Euro here that's showing it, but even the GFS. Very interesting. So those areas could definitely pick up some isolated flash flooding, while areas that are shaded in the greens, yellows, oranges, reds, like Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, sections of Haiti, and the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the Leeward and the Windward Islands, definitely getting less rainfall for sure, at least up to 1 inch of rainfall. And regarding Jamaica's total accumulated precipitation forecast for the next 7 days, the Euro and the GFS are adamant that the most rainfall over the next 7 days should be across the far eastern end. We see up to at least 74 millimeters of rainfall being predicted over the 7-day time period from the GFS, the Euro up to at least 77. And we know what usually affects central and western Jamaica. It's going to be during the afternoon hours. And we see the bias, just like what we showed on the map. The GFS is more so northern and western parts with that rainfall. The Euro is showing more so central and western parts. And we saw what happened today. Even although we had some rainfall across sections of some south central areas, just some isolated, clearly most of the rainfall is across the north. So the GFS has been winning so far, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to be winning again for the next 7 days in terms of these 1-day rainfall totals. But regarding the systems that could form, not necessarily the GFS being right at all. Alright, so we're going to be looking at the visible satellite images. As we can see here before the sun went down, definitely had some moisture coming through. We see that moist easterly flow passing through the Caribbean, all courtesy of the ridge of high pressure to the north. Thunderstorms as usual affecting portion of northern South America, Central America, section of Cuba into the Bahamas, troughing taking place. A lot of moisture here and there. Regarding the Doppler radar imagery of the northeastern Caribbean, let's see what's happening now. Don't see much of anything across Puerto Rico, the Leeward Islands right now. Earlier today though, let's see, looks like we didn't have much of anything either. What does the Barbados radar show? Don't see much of anything across Barbados. Maybe some isolated shores passing through St. Vincent and the Grenadines right here. Maybe St. Lucia with some isolated sprinkles earlier. If we take a look at the weather with Doppler radar imagery, we can see some rainfall across western Honduras, some rainfall across section of Colombia, section of Guyana and Suriname with their fair share of rainfall. And within the next 24 hours, clearly we can see that over the next 24 hours, most rainfall still should be affecting portion of northern South America into portion of Central America. So to section of Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Cuba, Florida, the Bahamas getting on some of that rainfall as well, with some isolated showers in store for section of the ABC Islands and Trinidad and Tobago as well. And we can clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement with that forecast. I know that when they're in agreement like this, the chances are higher for it to actually take place. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.